Hello everyone, my name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. In this video I want to show you very quickly how to use the built-in directory editor of Emacs, dir-ed, or as I like to call it, dired, to use this program to modify the file permissions of multiple items at once. So I'm here in a dired buffer and I already have screen key active, so you can see my key presses at the lower part of the screen. First, I want to toggle the verbose view, the detailed view. You do that with the left parenthesis. So I want to toggle this in order to show you what the problem is. As you can see, there is a discrepancy here in the file permissions. Some have the desired permissions. Others also have the X flag, so they are executable. And they are executable by the group and by others as well. And this is something that I do not want. So what I want to do is gather in one place all the files that have the X flag and operate on them. As you can see, by the way, the files that have the X flag also have an asterisk appended to their file name, whereas this one, for example, does not have, where this one has. So what I want to do first is I want to mark all the items that have the X flag, and you do that by pressing the asterisk twice. Then I want to narrow the view that I am currently in, the current buffer. I want to narrow it only to the items that contain the X flag. So I have already marked all the executables. Therefore, I need to toggle the mark. So what I have done now is to mark all the non-executables. Then I want to kill the lines that contain the non-executables. So I press the letter K. What I did now is to just remove them temporarily from the current buffer. They have not been deleted, they are just there. If I hit G, so to generate the buffer again, I can see them, they are where I left them. But I want to hide them temporarily so that I can operate on all the files that I have here. Now I want to select these again. I could do it by pressing the asterisk again, twice. But I want to show you another nice trick since we are on this topic. You go to the top of the directory and you press the letter M, and this will mark all the items inside of the directory. So anyhow, the effect is exactly the same, but this one is universal for whatever file you may have. Now that I have selected these files, I want to change the mode of all these files, to change the permissions of all these files. I press capital M. And it is now asking me for the number of the file permissions. This is Linux specific as far as I know. I don't know how it works in other operating systems. So these are the permissions I want to pass. It's the number 6, 4, and 4. And I will talk about the permissions in a minute. So I do just that, and I see already that it has operated on the files and has changed the permissions to what I was expecting, and I can generate the buffer again and see now that there is no discrepancy whatsoever. All the permissions are correct. So this is basically what I wanted to show you. Now let me talk to you about how you can discover features such as this one. Control-HM is the universal help function for finding documentation about the major mode you are in, and also about the minor modes that you have active. So let's come to this buffer over here, and this information, as you can see over here, contains some documentation, but then if you scroll further down, you will see that it also has key bindings and the functions that they are bound to. Of course, you can click on each function and read the documentation about the function. Anyhow, the letter M, which I used earlier, invokes this function. So dired do change mod. And this is what I used to change the file permissions. And if you go further below, you find this one over here, dired mark executables. And this is how I was able to mark executables. And as you can see, there are other things as well. And of course, there was also the toggle. Where is the toggle? Anyhow, you can find it, dired toggle marks. So this is all there is to it with regard to the operation I wanted to demonstrate. Now I think very quickly I can talk about permissions in Linux. I'm not sure how it works in other operating systems, but let's do it. Sorry, what I'm doing now. Let's change to an empty buffer. And let's increase the file size a bit. So let me talk to you. This is a primer, a simplistic primer on permissions in Linux. There are three types of permissions. Read, which is the letter R and is bound to and corresponds rather to the number 4. Write, which corresponds to the number 2. And execute, which corresponds to the number 1. And you have to combine these to a single number, so you have to aggregate them. So if you add them all up, it leads to the number 7. And then we have three types of groups. You have the user, you have the group, and you have others. So all others, all the rest. So when you write permissions for Linux, you have to combine the read, write, and execute for each of these three groups. So if I want my user to have read, write, and execute permissions, I will do it like this. Actually, let me write it right now verbosely, and then I will explain. So my user now has read, write, and execute. The other group has, let's say, it only has read, no write, no execute. And then the others have no permissions whatsoever. So if I were to write this into a single number, it would be, I will add these up. So 4 and 2 and 1 is the number 7. Then 4, 0, 0 is 4. And 0, 0, 0 is, of course, 0. So if I were to run the command, this command over here, actually let's do it like this. This command over here would give the file and then pass a file to it. It would give these permissions. So for my user, read, write, execute. For the group, read, and then for the rest, 0. What I did earlier was 644. Now that you know what this means, we can translate this. Let's break it down. So 6 is 4 and 2 and 0. So this means read, write, but not execute. Then 2 is, sorry, it was, what did I do there? Yeah, it's 644, sorry. And then for the group, it's 400. Sorry, I got confused there for a second. So this is read, but no write, no execute. And then again, the same for all the rest. Read, but not execute. So this is 644 translates into this. And this is what I was using to change the permissions into what I wanted. Of course, if you want to have safer permissions or more strict permissions, you may want to have something like 600. So your user has read and write, then the group has no access whatsoever, and the others have no access whatsoever. How would you have it for read only for your user? 400. And you get the idea. If you want execute only for whatever reason, it would be something like this. So you get the point. This is just a primer. Basically, I want to show you how to operate using these knowledge, how to apply this in a dired buffer. So that's all for now, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye.